There are so many thoughts around how often a baby should feed. Should they feed every 4 hours, every 1 hour? Should they be sleeping through the night by a few months? Do breastfeeding babies feed differently to formula feeding? Do they need more? Do they need less? So this video aims to show some information around this and to help you to understand what to expect. I always think it's a good idea to look at how often we, as adults, eat or drink in a day. Do we eat more than we think? Are we drinking more? Are we drinking less than we think? Should we do more? Should we be doing less? So let's have a look at this clock and let's have a think. So let's think about a usual work day. Let's think about perhaps an office worker. Most people will wake between about 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning on a usual weekday. So think about, do you have a drink when you wake up? Or you have a cup of coffee, or maybe about 5 cups of coffee to get moving. And some breakfast. We're using this burger just for ease of an image. And then after you've had breakfast and got dressed, maybe, you'll go to work. Get there around 9 o'clock in the morning. And what's the first thing you'll do when you get to work? Or what do most people do when they get to work? They'll make a brew. Have a drink. And then, once you've started working, do you sit there for 4 hours until 1 o'clock without eating or drinking anything again? Perhaps you do, perhaps your work is so busy, you haven't got time to think about anything else. But my guess is that most will either be sipping water or a coffee or a cup of tea all morning. If you're not sipping, then you'll probably get up and refill your mug at around 10, 10:30. Maybe have a snack, bag of crisps, banana, an apple. Then most people take lunch between about 12 and 1 p.m. And then you're likely to be quite hungry and want to eat quickly. You'll likely eat a good meal and another drink, perhaps a piece of fruit or a cake. And then once you've finished lunch, you sit back down at your desk with another drink, another cup of coffee. I'd guess most that work in an office will do this. So if we're looking at the typical 9 to 5 day, it might be that you'll top your drink at least once more before going home. Once you get home, do you make yourself a drink as soon as you walk through the door? No, grab a glass of water out the tap. And then you'll have your evening meal. That's usually quite a large meal, with either another cup of tea or a glass of wine even. Sometimes adding a pudding on the two. Then perhaps another glass of wine or another cup of tea, another drink of water before bed. Some will also take a glass of water to bed and sip in the night. Falling asleep anywhere between 9 and midnight. Maybe later. Most adults probably don't eat or drink again until working at 7 or 8 o'clock. Most adults probably won't drink or eat again until waking at about 7 or 8 o'clock again, and the cycle continues. So when you look at this clock now, you can see that even adults with a much larger stomach capacity, who aren't growing as quick, will only go a couple of hours at the most during the day without some form of food or drink. So why do we expect babies to go longer between? If we look at the sleep pattern of adults, if we consider 10 o'clock sleep and waking at 8 o'clock, that's 10 hours. And yet, it's so often expected for a baby to sleep 12 hours. Does that sound realistic? Do you wake during the night? Or do you sleep straight through? So yeah, I hear babies are not adults and do have different needs. So let's have a look at stomach size and capacity in babies of various ages. So here's a rough size of a newborn baby's stomach. It's about the size of a cherry or small marble. The stomach capacity is around 5 to 7 millilitres, so about 1 teaspoon. It's really quite small. By around day 3, usually when mother's milk comes in, following the colostrum, the stomach is around the size of a walnut. Capacity is around 22 to 27 millilitres or 1 ounce. Until around a week old, the stomach is now the size of an apricot, with capacity for around 45 to 60 millilitres, or 2 ounce. And by around a month old, the baby's stomach is around the size of an egg, with a capacity of around 80 to 150 millilitres, or between 2.5 and 5 ounces. Looking at this, you can see a rapid growth in size within the first year of a baby. Looking at this, you can see a rapid growth in size. Within the first year of life, a baby will undergo its fastest growth and development than any other time in its life. In comparison, an adult stomach can be the size of a medium melon, even if sometimes your eyes do tell you that you can fill a watermelon-sized stomach. Looking at the stomach sizes of a baby, you can see that this is small, and therefore they'll only need a small amount of food, and often. In the early week, this could be every couple of hours. They do not, usually at this age, need 4 ounce every 4 hours, as some suggest. All this does is stretch the stomach unhealthily, which can have lifelong impacts. Small babies like to graze for food, and so do some adults. It's also common for babies to feed more often in an evening. This is because the milk-making hormone is higher at this point in the day. So it makes sense. It's their natural instinct to feed more in an evening. So now we have looked at baby stomach sizes and how often. Us as adults eat with the larger capacity and less growing. We can see why a small baby may eat and drink often. This is regardless of feeding style, the biology is the same. So to answer the questions, does a baby need to feed 4 hours, 1 hour? It can be individual to the baby. Some will only want feeding every 4 hours. Some will need every hour. But when you look at the stomach sizes, you can see that they are growing quickly and may need to eat and drink quite often. If you are worried or concerned that your baby's feeding too much or too little, or not taking enough, then contact your health visitor or other support worker, infant feeding specialist, and they'll be able to help you to see whether it is right or whether something needs help with. Thank you for watching. Bye.